But
Actually, you know, with the Jews, what is their how do you handle like evangelism? Because I know that's one complaint that Christians have against Jews is that they should be evangelizing more.
We're not a missionary religion.
Right.
We will answer unless the guy's Jewish. Yeah, we don't chase after non-Jews.
Okay.
Right?
So you don't have any sort of missionary mission basically. It's just
Jews. Just to Jews.
Right. Okay.
We call that kiruv, which means like among Jews.
So what about proselytes?
Say proselytes.
Proselytes?
Proselytes. They come on their own.
All right.
They're not actively converted.
Okay.
Like Calvinists. Like Calvinists, they don't proselytize either. They just say, when they call, they'll come.
Yeah, but with Calvinists, I try and stay away from them in case I get burned, don't they? Because they might. If you talk against the Trinity, they might drag you to a stake and sort of light you up.
That's exciting.
No, but they actually used to do that.
They're good at that. The Christians are good at that. I know. Like, as a Jew, I can attest the Christians are good. Got a talent being nasty, yes.
But I can tell you a few stories as well about Jews being nasty.
Oh yeah? I mean, I don't say the Jews are always angels.
I'm from Holland. The history.
So am I.
Are you? You don't have a Dutch accent.
No, my father's Dutch. I've got a Dutch passport. I've been there once in my life.
Oh, so you're a proselyte?
Say?
Are you a proselyte?
No.
Okay.
No, but
Niet wachten oversteken. That's all I know.
There is a bit of common history, I think, of Jews and Dutch, in a way.
Right, they were there for hundreds of years. They were there for hundreds of years in Amsterdam, the community there.
And different places as well.
Utrecht and my father was born in Rotterdam.
Okay, I'm from Middelburg, which is a bit further south on the islands. There used to be a big port, as big as Rotterdam back in the days, but it's all gone. So there also was, of course, a Jewish community there, because they had to leave elsewhere.
I don't know.
So when you come there, so what do you come to? Do you come to find other Jews, or is it just to?
I just enjoy the sort of like arguing.
Enjoy the debate.
Yeah. So
some guys go to watch, and some guys enjoy arguing.
Yeah. Can you tell me then why you are not a Christian?
Why am I not a Christian? Okay.
Because I'm a Christian, I think you should be a Christian.
Oh, okay.
Why would you say no to it?
Where do we start? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you an overview and then I'll try and give you some more details. Basically, I think 3 problems with Christianity. Okay, number 1 is the Trinity. I don't know if you're Trinitarian.
Yeah.
Trinitarian Christianity, God is one, right?
Well, he is. I'm not.
I can understand.
Throughout the Old Testament and
that's a problem.
Right, the Old Testament and New Testament, it says God is one. That's one problem. The other problem is the ending of keeping mitzvahs, commandments of God. Right, Jesus, the end of the Lord, is quite clearly contradicted by the Torah, saying that these commandments are for eternity. Right. Number 3, which is the most minor problem, is false claim to be Messiah. Right, false claim to be Messiah is the most minor problem, right? Because he claims to be Messiah. Messiah meant to bring world peace, meant to bring universal knowledge of God. Yeah, he failed, didn't do it. So those are the 3 problems. Christians like to use verses from Isaiah 7:14, 9:5, 53, Micah 5:2, right? Daniel 9:25. I've seen them all, right?
Okay.
Most of the time, either out of context, or not, or mistranslated. Right, the verse that I use, 7:14 is a mistranslation. 53 is not talking about the servant. Its servant is not Jesus. It's used in plural sometimes in Hebrew. The Hebrew actually translates in plural.
He's talking about
corporate Israel, right?
The people of
right. Jeremiah 31. The new covenant is quite clearly saying the next verse. You read the next verse, the 2 verses. It says that the new covenant will be that universal knowledge of God. That clearly isn't Jesus. Micah 5:2 says from Bethlehem, right? Bethlehem is just talking about the lineage. Yeah? The Messiah is meant to come from David, and David came from Bethlehem. Doesn't mean any specific child from Bethlehem. It doesn't have to be more in Bethlehem at all.
Psalm 22.
Psalm 22, mistranslation. Yeah, it says Koari, which means like a lion. They've translated pissed. Right, mistranslation. Other mistranslations have they got?
Tokru.
You say?
Tokru, Zachariah.
Zachariah, was it?
Is it pierce means it should be stamped. I don't always wait that he is.
Yeah, but basically, you don't believe Jesus was the Messiah.
Not at all. So I mean, that's the least of the problem.
If that's the case,
the least of the problem.
If that's the case,
yes.
I'm not Jewish or from a Jewish background.
Yes.
What hope is there for me?
Okay, believing that Jesus is Messiah is I said it's the least of your problems, right?
If
There are religious Jews who believe in a certain man as Messiah, and yeah, we love them, but just slightly mistaken.
so, well,
How do you get salvation?
yeah, how do I get?
Okay, keeping the 7 Noahide laws. There are 7 laws for non-Jews, and if they keep that, they're good to go. There's no requirement to convert to Judaism. Let me see if I can list them all 7. Number 1 is believing in God, not serving idolatry. Number 2,
Don't kill.
killing,
Number
murder,
3, sexual thingy bobs.
yeah, sexual immorality, stealing,
Stalling, making judgments, and not eating from a live animal.
That any non-Jew does that, he's good to go.
So if I do that,
Yep, you're good to go.
that's fine.
It's fun.
So you probably have all of them except for
For
Trinitarian,
Trinitarian.
which means you don't believe in one God, which could be problematic.
That could be problematic.
Because
but
Jewish
that
law is very
depends-
interesting. Yeah.
It depends on the definition of the Trinity.
It's not so much the
problematic
Christian.
for everyone, I would think.
No, it's not so much the Christian, like understanding how Trinitarian works. There's a certain there's a dispute whether non-Jews are allowed to do idol worship, yeah, as long as they believe in one God. It means if they believe in one God, yeah, and they believe in God and they have other gods, it's fine, according to some people.
That's Jewish. It's not Jewish law. It's a question of Jewish law. That's what we're saying.
Sorry, would you say the only problem then would be that I have more than one God?
Right.
Which I would disagree with,
Which is I understand, but in Jewish law, the way Jewish law would look at it, would be more than one
Also,
God.
even if you let's say somehow have made 3 into 1, you're still, if according to Jews, you're still idolatry. Even if your concept of 3 is somehow wound, because you're serving something which is not God. So even if you put JC into God, the fact you're still serving something which, if I said it's one God, but it's that lamppost, that's still idolatry, right? But it's not the real God. So even if you've somehow made 3 into 1, JC is not God, so that would still be idolatry. And therefore the question becomes, in Jewish law, from a Jewish perspective, in Jewish law, is that alright to serve?
Having the wrong definition of God, is that already idolatry? Is that what you're saying?
So we're saying, if you believe in the one God which we all believe in, which you call the Father, and you also believe in something which is not God, in this case JC, then there's a question in Jewish law whether for a non-Jew that's alright. A Jew definitely not. The question for a non-Jew if you'll still attain salvation if you have that belief.
I think what he's saying is that they don't accept your description of how you get 3 into 1.
Right.
That's essentially what he's saying.
he has them all as one. That's
So you, what you're doing is disagree. They're saying 3 to somehow get into 1.
They basically not believing in
Yeah, you
God.
just
Then
disagree.
it's a problem. Correct.
There is God, there's the Father, there's the Word of God, and there's the Spirit of God. They are completely one. They're united in purpose and essence, and there's no
Right. But the fact that
disagreement.
you consider Jesus like part of God is very
So
problematic.
if you say the God is divine, the Word of God is divine, and the Spirit of God is divine, or holy, or
Right.
So
I mean, you have
there's
aspects of
various
God.
ways- There's
Right.
various ways of
Right.
filling in the word Trinity.
Right, but you're adding another aspect. You're adding a human being.
I didn't become a Christian because I understand the Trinity or believed in the Trinity. I became a Christian because I found that Jesus is also for me my light or my salvation.
Would you?
So
you mean you had a personal experience?
There is a Trinity somewhere that comes later, and it makes sense to me, but that's not.
You had a
the point,
personal.
really.
You had a personal experience with Jesus. That's what you're telling me.
No, I would say God has revealed Himself to me somehow. Yeah, I was an atheist before,
Right, and you
but that
had
doesn't
an
prove
experience.
anything to anyone.
No, it is enough people claiming the same story that I do believe people have. Not every story is necessarily true, but the overwhelming evidence is that people have these spiritual experiences. Right.
Well, that sort of wakes them up to the idea that God is actually there.
Right, a lot of people have
That's
that,
very
and
useful.
I think there's overwhelming evidence that these experiences do happen. People experience these things, right? That doesn't show what it proves though, because in the Old Testament itself, it says that we're going to be prophets who are going to do wonders, going to do amazing things, spiritual things, right? And they're still going to be false.
Yeah, okay, but it's not based on that experience that sort of opens your eyes that there is a God.
Okay, and
then
then-
you read the Bible, you think actually this really makes sense. Like if you read the beginning of Genesis,
Right.
that really makes sense.
Okay.
And
So
it
how did you
explains
get
what-
to the Old Testament, the New Testament? What was that logic there? Giving that. Why did you believe in that?
Why I also believe in the
Yeah.
New Testament.
Well, I'd say it's because it fixes some missing bits in the old. Because, like, you know the Messiah who's going to come,
Right.
As you know him.
He's going to come.
Yeah, but is he going to be human or angel or something else?
Human.
Human.
Yep.
Okay, but so it says human in the Old Testament. It gives an indication that he'd be human from the Old Testament.
It's pretty much talking about.
But it doesn't say he's going to be supernatural, so I assume he will be, number one. And number two, it does talk about, like, you know, a man, I guess.
So,
I'm trying to think of the clear verses.
so you know in Daniel 7.
Daniel 7, the Son of God.
Yeah, who's that Son of Man? The one who's brought before God and given the kingdom.
It's
If you look at the further on in Daniel 7, it explains who it is.
Right.
The angel repeats it with an explanation. What were you saying before? So why do you believe in the New Testament? Which is very interesting to me.
Let's have a look at Daniel 7 first.
Daniel 7, okay.
That's what I often.
Okay.
That's what I often come up with.
All right. Let me see. Here we go. Joseph's gone on. Daniel. Daniel 7.
Oh, it's just in a different order.
You say?
Because it's right near the.
Yeah, Daniel and Ezra just swapped around. I think.
All right.
Okay. I just don't like this print at all. I lost my other one. Way after. Daniel 7.
Why are you looking?
25 is the Son of God. 25 or 20,
25?
23 to 25. Son of Man. Sorry, has the appearance of a Son of God. Appearance of the Son of God.
Well-
Didn't know it.
Came one like a son of man.
He said he had an appearance.
He came to-
Appearance of a Son of, which is from an angel. The angels, the Son of God is used for a lot of people, right?
So you would say the word like makes all the difference here. Then.
The Son of God doesn't literally mean, in the Bible, Son of God doesn't literally mean that anyone's divine.
Which
Right?
verse is
The Jews are called
Oh,
Son of God.
well,
and the non-Jews also called Son of God in Jeremiah.
Which one do you want? Because you've got the first one,
So
and there's the explanations for.
Right, so
You want the explanation?
First one.
What, the first?
Yeah, first one.
All right, the first is
But in Jeremiah, the rest of the nation are also called Son.
Where is it?
Yeah, God calls them Son.
Where in Jeremiah?
I don't have
Just
exact.
so that I can
I
find
know
it.
it's a good quote. I don't get what the quote is. There is somewhere in Jeremiah where it says that nations are also called son. Jews are called the firstborn.
Well, 13
the
is
nation also called Son of God.
that's where the Son of Man
But the point
came
is
to the
they're
Ancient
not
of
divine.
Days.
So just being called, having a verse as someone with the Son of God doesn't mean it's divine.
Here it says son of man. That's the difference.
Oh, sorry, maybe I'm in the wrong verse.
But
I'm
you,
talking about 325. What are you
Like
talking
the son
about?
of man.
yeah.
I'm talking about 325. Sorry. Oh, I'm in the wrong verse.
9:30.
Oh, you mean the rock? Oh no.
so I'm talking about-
Oh, when he's in the fire. you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
I got the wrong
okay.
verse,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. All right.
Okay.
Because Muslims often say Jesus didn't call himself the son of God. It's because he called himself the son of man. So I say, yeah, but you can understand that when you read Daniel, where it talks about the son of man.
So what I'm wondering this is where.
So that's sort of the connection. That's why it's an interesting point for me.
So-
See what do you say about this?
So what I'm wondering is how did this Son of Man as described it? How did he get the ranks to be able to be the ruler over the kingdom that God gave him?
I don't know which verse you're talking about. Like.
Well, it's just like because the New Testament kind of explains where he got the rank from. That's the thing. So I'm just wondering how you'd explain it from the Old Testament.
So you're asking me. It's printed.
So what verse are we talking about? 7?
You got the
Huh?
same verse?
No. Well, 13 is where he came to stand in front of
What
God.
verses are you looking at? Daniel?
Yeah, Daniel 7,
Daniel
13.
13.
Yeah.
It's not one of the regular ones.
Probably is,
You say?
it probably is. Well,
It's not until you that. Mostly it's Daniel 9:25. That's what we usually
Muslims often say Jesus didn't call himself the son of God, he called himself the son of man. So that's when we go back to Daniel 7. We say there it's the explanation of what he means when he talks about the son of man.
Yeah, but the main thing is how did he get that rank to be the one to be above everyone else?
He's talking about the Messiah. I think we should see this.
Yes. And therefore we say when Jesus called himself the son of man all the time, he basically called himself the Messiah. That's a bit...
So where does it say Son of Man?
The Son of Man is quite clear.
13.
I have no idea why Jesus would be called Son of Man.
Then came one like the son of man. So all with the clouds of heaven, there came one like the son of
It's basically a history of the world, right? And at the end of days, after all these events happen, right, the Son of Man will come. And the Son of Man, like it's explained here.
Talking about the Messiah, yeah. The Messiah's been called Son of Man. Right.
But
So when Jesus called himself the Son of Man, he did that quite a lot. That's why he called himself the Messiah. You can say I disagree with that.
Yeah.
But it was for us.
You're saying even in Christianity you still have to accept the Son of Man.
Yeah,
But it doesn't get rid of the contradiction, does it?
that's how Jesus called himself.
Okay, okay. First, there's a problem there, just calling him the Son of Man. Is it problematic calling yourself Son of Man when you don't believe that your Father's God? It's problematic calling yourself Son of Man when his Father's God.
No, but this sort of the explanation of the Son of Man,
right?
This is not just an ordinary man because he's been given all dominion, etc.
Right, he's the Messiah.
So then
He's the
it's
Messiah.
the other way around. The Bible says Son of Man, and JC is not Son of Man, unless you say he's also Son of Man because he's Son of Mary, who's
No,
Son of
but
Man.
we would say so. The Messiah must be divine, or
You're saying he's both Son
equal
of Man.
to God, or
You're saying he's Son of Man and I'm not.
equal to God. Oh, being made equal to God, like he's receives all.
Why? Because it says that verse, the Son of Man will be lifted high.
Yeah, like that.
But lifted high doesn't mean God, does it?
No, but
Especially you don't believe.
do you not agree that the Messiah is being made equal to God? Or next?
No, not at all.
But
Why
I think the
does it say that?
yeah,
That's what it says.
No, it doesn't.
No, I think the problem with Daniel is it's not really. Wouldn't really use it to sort of back up the Trinity, but it's more the backing up the New Testament of why did Jesus,
No, just read
or
it. Sort of
how did the Son of Man get to be in that position he was to be able to rule over?
God lifted him up there.
That must
Yeah, so but why?
But you don't believe that he was man and became God. You believe he was from the beginning of time God.
I mean,
You know,
when the Messiah comes.
Well, why believes he came from God?
Right, so you can't say man was lifted up to be like God if you believe.
So
When he was on earth, you believe he was man
no, he was given a human body, but he existed before the human body.
as God. And when he was in the human body, what was he in the human body? He was human. We had both natures.
Oh no, but see, I don't believe the Trinity stuff. So what I just believe is he was a human body that the Son of God came into.
But when he was on in earth, he was man or God.
No, I believe he was in a human body.
But he was God.
It's one God was in you.
No, but see, I don't believe that part. That's what he believes. So we're actually slightly
Are
different.
you an Adventist, by any chance?
No, not Adventist. But
Unitarian.
you could say Hebrew Israelite is the closest one. Yeah. But basically, what I'm trying to with the Daniel 7, what I'm trying to more go for is how he got the rank, because the New Testament, when you read it, it describes, you can see why he got into that position of being able to rule over the kingdom. So I'm just saying, is there anywhere in the Old Testament that could explain why he's in that position, the Son of Man?
The Son of Man is the Messiah, meaning that he's the greatest sort of Jewish personality. He's a king.
Yeah, but so there's no
The
explanation
Bible
why.
said he'll follow in the way of David by keeping God's commandments. So he'll be a holy man, and that holy man deserves to be the final leader of the Jewish people.
Is the Messiah a man that becomes...
He's a man who stays man, but gets a very exalted position because of his closeness to God through serving God.
at the right hand of the Father, so at the right hand of God. So he becomes...
Well, you could say
like
that,
God.
but that could be like metaphor for someone who's closest to God, God's right hand man, let's say. But he's not equal to God. He's not divine or anything.
But I'm not arguing.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
finding out what you mean by that, because we often say then the Son of Man receives all authority or all dominion, so he becomes like God.
So we don't
God sort of gives it to him.
So we don't believe that. We don't believe that. We would say that if a king had a right hand man, that right hand man doesn't become king. He's just the closest to the king, carries out what the king wants. So Messiah is like the king of Israel, whose job is to teach the nations, including the non-Jews, the Gentiles. But he's a tiny man. There's no reason to say he's not a man.
So you're saying it's going to be a man who's, in Daniel 7, it's going to be a man who's actually going to be brought in front of God to rule.
You probably see it looking at it in a very literal. He's literally being brought, and I don't know. God's putting him on the clouds. But it's more of a metaphoric. Talking about how he'll be exalted. It's a metaphor. We read more metaphorically, like most places in the Bible talk about lifting the Jews out of Egypt on the wings of eagles. Right? I don't mean they were actually on the wings of eagles. It means God exalted them, God took them out and looked after them, like an eagle look after his kids. It's the same thing over here. God sort of exalting him, everyone recognises his greatness, etc., etc.
Right.
I don't see it as saying he becomes divine or by any stretch.
Because actually another one I was going to ask is, Proverbs 30 and
Yes.
4. So I suppose you know that one as well.
What is that by reference?
Yeah.
Who is he? Who is his son?
Yeah.
Right. So basically, it's asking who is like God. You seen this one? No. It's sort of. I just saw it recently. It must be a new one that's going around. It's like.
No. I've spoken with someone, but it's not a regular one. You won't hear it. Yeah. I kind of noticed it myself. No one really told it to me.
So who went up to heaven and came down? Who gathered wind in his palms?
They were rhetorical.
You see? It's like It's obviously asking who is like God. Right?
Rhetorically, you're saying.
Who is like God? Who is he? Tell me the name of his son. Tell me who he is.
Like, which gods have taken the Jews out of the nation? Like, being that type of tutorial question.
That's
Where's
basically-
Mishnah?
Mishneh 30.
We're going that way.
Mishneh
Here. Front of the beginners. Here we go, got it. What is it, 30?
4.
Yeah, yeah.
34. Right, it's just comparing God, human to God.
So who's like?
Right, which man?
Who is like that? Who is he? What's his name? What's his son's name? That's
I mean, it's not saying that is a son.
Yes.
It's just
Saying, tell me who this person is. Tell me anybody like it.
Some understand it, by the way, to mean who except Moses. But Moses is ended. If it means anyone, but it's rhetorical. Who else gathered the wind in the palm? Who else tied the waters in a cloak? Who established all the ends of earth? What is the name of his name?
Rashi.
And what is his son's name, if you know?
But you know, verse 1, it says that the words of Agar, the son of Jakeh, even the prophecy. So do you know why I would say prophecy?
These are prophetic. These are said in prophetic. They're not just people speaking. These are all said in. Prophecy doesn't mean always predicting the future, right? The word prophecy in Hebrew is navi. It's masot. It's not saying. And navi just is related to speaking, right? And speaking just means speaking the name of God.
So you're
It's
saying
said in divinely inspired, but not necessarily making a future prediction or anything like that.
so who would you say it's speaking about then?
It's saying who is like God.
Poetic references to Solomon. Ogor, they said their words, which means that most of these names actually have meaning, like Ogor, which means the collector. And apparently, most of them are supposed to be poetic references to Solomon himself, because Solomon wrote the Proverbs.
Yeah.
So he's giving himself prophetic.
Oh, don't worry about it.
So he's a sort of prophetic name for himself. So Ogor means the collector, or it means understanding. Solomon means understanding. So they're different words for it. So Isiel means God was with me, but Ucho means I'm capable. So they're prophetic references to Solomon himself. And then he's saying that I don't know anything.
You basically believe in what do you call it? In the New Testament because of the verses that are quote the proofs from the Old Testament. That's your well, in general. I'm not talking specifically, right? But in general, your reason for believing in the New Testament is because of the verses.
no, there's a lot of what Jesus did.
Right, but how do you know? How do you know that the New Testament's reliable in its testimony?
That's another question. But if we would say, if we take it,
If we believe it, then we can believe it.
but if we take because that would be another sort of. It takes a bit of time to. How do you know? But if you take the different books that sort of
They
write
contradict each
about
other,
Jesus,
correct.
there's a lot of things he did and said that can only be understood when you know the Hebrew script.
I understand, but how that they're saying that he fulfilled these Hebrew scriptures.
Yeah,
So how do you know that they're telling the truth?
Oh, well, that's the thing. He's trying to get.
Before I answer.
I mean, let me give you a list here of I think it's 44 contradictions in the crucifixion story alone. Some of them you can answer.
You've done your homework.
You say, no, I
Are you sure that's not from the atheists though?
You say, no, this is actually from the. I was telling you about being Noahide before. It's on the Noahide website. Noahide Ancient Path. They got
All
it.
right.
Some of them are probably easy to answer, no?
Some of them aren't outright contradictions. This one's straight out. I
So
don't think
you
I don't
have different because.
I've
what do you
heard-
mean? Where is this from? And this.
It's
different.
Is Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Each column.
I went through the other day. I was one of the Christian apologists. Someone was asking him a question about were they in Jerusalem or and he basically said that Luke took the license to not to miss that information. And he's happy for there to be for Luke to especially try and make whatever more theological points. He had more.
But some of the stuff,
I don't know.
the date of the crucifixion.
Jesus. So you mean did Jesus drink alcohol? Yeah?
No, in the final supper, the last supper.
Okay.
It's all going on the crucifixion story.
Okay, I see. All right.
Well, if it's new wine, that wouldn't be alcoholic. Would it?
If it's what?
If it's new wine, it has to be old wine to be alcoholic.
Oh no, this is probably on the cross, yeah? Because the next question, what was in the drink?
No, this
that's
is
on the cross.
This is in the final, the last supper.
Okay.
The last supper.
Pass it.
You can have that.
I'm just saying it's interesting. Also, like I don't know. I feel like we're coming from like assumptions or there can't be any prediction. I was interested to know.
No,
like,
they
what
have.
might
I
be-
was asking
Oh, I
Errol
see.
before. He had answers. for some
I
of them.
think a lot of things.
Some of them can be answered.
Just get a
I'll
picture.
do that. But
Just get a picture.
When there's
take
contradictions,
the poll.
often
Take this. Take
it's
this.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm just getting the.
Is there an
Yeah.
explanation or something? or
Someone will have answers.
I don't know if
Aaron's giving some answers for
Right,
something.
I don't think he's coming from the point of he's been through and he knows they're wrong. He's just saying, do you have the answers to these? They seem problematic.
You're welcome to look over it.
no, but
so
do you want to take?
No, I've got the link, so it's fine.
A lot of things that Jesus did and said refer to the
I understand, but they wrote it.
So there is a clear.
They wrote it to do that, right? Again, from my perspective, I don't really believe the testimony of the Gospels. And they wrote it. They were aware of the Messiah's purpose.
Exactly.
They tried to write Jesus into being the Messiah.
They wrote it to prove, basically to say, he is the Messiah.
Right, I understand exactly. So that's not an achievement to write something like that. I can also do it. I can also do that. I can write the same thing about myself.
My name is Elijah. Imagine I made a ministry of taking fathers and sons and putting them together. And I said, oh, that's the literal meaning when it said Elijah will turn the hearts of fathers to sons, right? And suddenly I become the guy fulfilled. I'm becoming the Messiah because I fulfilled the prophecy. And it's much better. It's much more accurate. It's much more literal.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It wasn't Messiah. It was Elijah. Ain't it?
But I suppose I can say, well, I'm Elijah. I am Elijah,
Yeah,
and I need to herald
I
him
can
the
write
Messiah.
a book called New
and I'm
Testament.
making him the Messiah.
I can write a book New Testament, and you've got Jeremiah 31, which says
There's a lot of books to write.
no. I understand. If I write a book New Testament,
But
then you wouldn't accept that Jeremiah predicts my.
It is a bit like that. Indeed, they didn't. Well, he said he was the Messiah, but they didn't think he was the Messiah because he died. That was sort of the end of the story.
Right.
And he didn't do what he was supposed to do.
Correct. He failed.
To
As the Jewish joke goes, Jesus. Oh, that guy was meant to bring world peace 2,000 years ago. That guy. So what about him?
But to their great surprise, he rose from the dead, and then they sort of.
I understand, but
Then they sort of-
why do you believe them saying that? Why would you believe it?
Why?
Yeah. I just saw my grandmother who rose from the dead yesterday. Do you believe me? I hope not.
Especially, by the way, you should know psychologically, I mean, you can do a study that it is a psychological, they're documented in psychological medical books of people after they really miss someone claiming to see him later.
I actually did have this like a
Yeah.
couple of months
I'm
ago.
not saying it's
I just
comparable.
remember. I was dreaming about my grandfather. My grandfather died a couple of months
That's a very unlikely explanation.
ago. Again, but
But
what testament?
They were hallucinating or something.
But that has happened in the real world.
Well, that happens to an individual here or there. But that's not something people are going to die for.
But there are people who are convinced they've seen the dead person. It's documented. Now, you might say that it's never happened with 4 people. I don't know, but I'm just putting it out there. The point is you're relying on a couple of people, which is you would never do that. You wouldn't believe Reverend Move for Joseph Smith. So why these 4?
Joseph Smith had revelations as well. Muhammad had revelations.
But so the thing Jesus died,
Right.
then he was alive again.
But
That's a
according to whose testimony?
According
And,
to
and rising from the dead is not a proof. Is not a proof of anything, because you remember Saul, and Saul went to the necromancer and brought up Samuel from the dead. So coming up from the dead doesn't prove you're a Messiah.
yeah, brought up a ghost.
So,
not,
correct. Yeah, it's
not the person.
no. So,
Maybe they were better necromancer.
witchcraft
Maybe they saw the
doesn't
spirit and saw the
So
person.
if we, apart from when we talk about a personal revelation or something, the only real information we have comes from the New Testament or from, you can do some historic research about the time or from the old
Right. Okay. Correct. So,
Christians.
do you have good evidence for Jesus' miracles? And Jesus, do you have good evidence for that?
The only evidence
Go on.
comes from the New Testament.
And is
Only
that
real
good?
evidence
Is that good evidence?
from the different books in the New Testament?
Is that good evidence?
I think it is.
What's the? Why would you think it's good evidence?
So you're basically saying 4 people are good enough for you to believe the story, even though there's inconsistencies. I don't know. The 5. I don't know what it is. Most stories probably 1 or 2 people document them. 3, 4. So you're 4 or 5 people, and you're happy to believe that even when there's inconsistencies. That's basically where your evidence comes
Yeah.
from.
When you boil it down to that, yes.
But I think the other thing is
And what about Jesus contradicting the Torah? Jesus contradicting the Torah, isn't that problematic for you?
Well, then it would be, yes. So then we would need to look at, does he contradict or how can we explain this or what is
the
this
Torah
about?
says the law is forever,
Yeah.
right? And Jesus is the end of the law. That's quite.
no, but Jesus never
he
said
didn't
that.
say
though.
I'm the end of the law.
Okay, Paul said it for him.
No.
Well, he never said it either.
Jesus said that Jesus is the end. Jesus is the end of the law. Who said that?
Oh, Matthew,
Yeah,
and it's not the
no,
end
no,
of
it's
the world,
four,
it's the
it's
end
four.
of the age.
Law, actually law.
Jesus said, Jesus said something like, no, nothing from the law will disappear.
And he said that as well, but then he said Jesus is the end of the law.
I come to fulfill the law.
I understand, but but there's another verse which says Jesus is the end of the law.
But the thing is, when you read that verse, it says more afterwards. So you have to actually read the rest of what it says.
It's Romans 10:4. I think.
Yeah, it's Romans.
What does it say afterwards?
I think it's Romans 10:4.
So the law, in my opinion, the law has not been finished. It is fulfilled. So fulfilled means it's done. Like
Again, yeah.
The
Do
law
you wear tzitzis?
No.
Do you eat kosher?
No.
Do you have peyot?
No. Neither do you.
Say, I do.
Oh, is that enough?
That-
It means you just can't shave it. That's what it really
Right.
means.
Okay, but
Are you circumcised?
But then I would say I'm not
Yeah.
Jewish.
Oh.
Then I would say I'm not Jewish.
All right,
Then
good.
then we would go back to the Noahide laws, which is enough for me.
That is true. That is true. But you believe that Jews also don't have to do that. According to Christianity, Jews do not have to do 613 mitzvahs, commandments, right? According to Christianity, Jews don't have to do it. That's not.
I haven't really
Right,
thought about that. But as far as I'm
that's
concerned,
contradicting the Torah.
I'm not Jewish.
I understand. So for you, it's okay. That's true.
Then I would be-
Right, I understand. But Jesus was abrogating the law when he said for Jews, because originally Jesus came to the Jews, right?
Yeah, but
Right,
the
so-
Messiah for the Jews. Yeah.
Right. So he abrogated the law when he said.
He fulfilled the law.
Well, he abrogated it when he said that the commandments don't apply.
That's a different word. Like you would say, if you could focus on, for example, the Sabbath. Yeah.
Right.
Like obviously Jesus didn't keep the Sabbath.
Correct.
And Christians after him didn't keep the Sabbath. They
Right. So now,
keep the next day.
but the Sabbath is the eternal sign.
So
The Sabbath is the eternal sign. It's a property.
It could be also literally.
one the Sabbath you keep it to remember creation.
Is it?
God rested on the seventh.
Again, but God said eternal.
Then
But God said eternal. He didn't say when you need it.
let me
Go on.
finish. Let me finish. Okay. So one is to remember creation.
And one is to remember the leaving of Egypt, Exodus. Exodus.
Yeah, but also the finding coming into the promised land.
That's not Sabbath. No.
No? Isn't that to remember the promise that you will come in the
Nope.
promised
Nope.
land?
No.
No, that's Passover.
Sabbath is the Genesis and Exodus.
It's Passover. Is a remember.
No, I'm
and
not
Feast of
talking- I'm not
Tabernacles.
talking about Passover.
Sabbath is about Genesis and Exodus. Nothing else.
Yeah,
right?
I know,
So,
but there's one reference to creation. Which
well,
is
yeah,
clear.
the Genesis.
But
The
it's
Genesis,
also-
which means creation, and Exodus, leaving Egypt. Those are the two.
There aren't any others. There definitely aren't.
That's what I'm doing. But I think in Exodus it referred to finding the promise.
It doesn't.
coming to the promised land.
It doesn't say that indeed.
I'll have to check that.
Right. So, but it does say right that the Sabbath is an eternal sign. Now, Jesus did not encourage keeping the Sabbath. That's a problem.
Oh no, but actually, do you know what he said in Matthew 24? No, 20.
I'm not familiar. Like,
No,
tell me what he said.
No, because he actually. But this is actually one we use against the Christians who say the Sabbath is done away with. Where is it?
I don't know. I don't know. Now that the time that for Jews, he did say they should.
Right, but most Christians don't believe that. There are Christians who believe that.
Here's the thing. I take it they're Christians.
They are.
You're Jews, but you
notice?
both want the Temple of Jerusalem to be built, right?
Do they? I don't know what they want.
Do you?
I do.
You do. Do you? But isn't that part of the prophecy?
Prophecy in Ezekiel.
Ezekiel's last chapter.
Well, he feels that we no longer need the temple because Jesus was the
Makes history great again. Okay.
Actually, here's the one where Jesus.
Just fill it in. You got the label. You know what's in the box.
Because here's the one where Jesus agreed with the Sabbath.
Revelation
So,
say the temple needs to be built.
so this is Matthew 24 and 17. Well, 16. It says, "Then let them which are be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither them him which is in the field return back to take his clothes.
You know,
And
this thing
woe-
called the precanonical.
And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation,
Mazal
such as
Adar-Dogin.
was not until the beginning of the world to this time, no nor ever shall be." So notice he said, "Pray your flight be not on the Sabbath day." So he did actually agree with the Sabbath.
I think there are some Christians that rule some of them.
Yeah, I know, but I use it against them.
Matthew,
And also, if you notice in the King James Bible, it says, "And always I'll be with you to the end of the world." But actually, in the Greek translation, it's eon. So the original Greek translation, so that means age. And you understand when they meant by age, which means he'll be with you to the end of, Pisces and to Equus, you know.
Well,
I'm not finding it. I'm not finding it about the promised land, but I'll check that. But the argument is sort of because the Sabbath was to enter into the promised land. Now if the Messiah come, if Jesus come, we have the promise.
again, but
That's sort of.
it says in
I
the
can't back it up because I can't find it.
but it also says it's eternal.
Yeah.
It says that it doesn't say until you go to that.
Yeah, okay, but the eternal part of it is that the Messiah, for us, has come for eternity. That's an eternal event. So, in that sense,
It doesn't say keep the Sabbath or believe in the Messiah when the Messiah comes. It says keep the Sabbath forever. That doesn't say when the Messiah comes you can just get away by just believing in him. I want to ask you a question though. Yeah, according to Christian belief, right, the most important thing you can do is believe in the Messiah. Right, that's the key thing.
Well, I believe his message, the message he brought from God.
Wouldn't you say that it should be somewhere throughout Scripture? That should be the most often repeated message throughout Scripture. It should say, when the Messiah comes, don't reject him. When the Messiah comes, don't reject him. When the Messiah comes, don't reject him. And no, God goes on about the Sabbath. Why on earth did God go on about the Sabbath? When he can think about the Messiah, which is the most important thing.
So what about Daniel 9:25?
9:25. Yeah, basically. The way it's translated in the King James version, note the version because the earlier versions of King James had it more like God's version, which is very important. Yeah, you're going to get God's versions over here. King James version is I'm not a fan of it.
The translation.
I understand, but it's not the same as what.
Debate about which
it's not
one
the
is the best.
Well, the Hebrew is definitely the best.
I think God's version is the best.
If you understand Hebrew.
I understand. So now if you're relying on a translation, the King James version, then you're in a bit of a pickle. So basically,
Your first language is Hebrew, is it?
No, it's not the first language. No, it's not.
it's my second. It's my second and third language.
Second and third.
Yes. What do you call it? I learned biblical Hebrew in school, and then I learned modern Hebrew in Israel. Okay. So my second and third language.
So what is it, or what does it say in your?
Okay, basically the way have you got the verse here? 9:25.
Yeah, 20. Yeah.
No, from the go from shall be 7 weeks and 3 score and 2 weeks. Okay, so the way you read it is like 7 and 3 score and 7 and 62. That's how you're reading it. That's how you understand it, right? Mm-hmm. So you basically put them together as 69. Yeah, but it's actually shall be 7 weeks, right? Until the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, right? And 3 score and 2 weeks, the street shall be rebuilt again, and the wall and evening shall be the suns.
Yeah,
right? So it's 7 weeks for the Messiah the Prince.
Not all of them.
Now, Messiah doesn't mean anywhere in Scripture the person we call Messiah. Messiah just means anointed one. Yeah, which means a king. Yeah, it's referring to, I'm going to be very, very short, referring to Cyrus, who in Isaiah 45:1 is called Messiah.
Right.
Yeah, it's talking about the rebuilding of Jerusalem, the second temple, duration of the second temple.
I live nearby, so
I'll refer you to look up Rabbi Tovia Singer. Have you looked him up?
Yeah, I've watched some of his videos.
Right.
Yeah.
So I believe so sort of can check it out. Like, does it actually make sense? So you try to tell somebody, think, oh, hold on, I have to think about this. You know, because you can meet all sorts of people here. Of course, there's Christians, Muslims, Jews. There's also atheists or all sorts of. You can't. There's anyone could turn up, and you have to sort of try to make sense of things, which is always a good challenge.
Okay. I advise you. Let me give you two websites. You got a pen? You got a pen? Look up this website. Yeah, it's a good website. I look at
Ancient Path.
So yeah, that's got tons and tons of information. So I look at Rabbi Tovia Singer. Have you ever looked him up? Rabbi Tovia Singer.
I have heard the name, yeah, but what is it's by him?
He contributes to this website, but he's not. He's
a singer's claim to fame. Why is
he's probably the best anti-missionary around.
And the Muslims like to use him as well.
The Muslims like to use him, correct. But he lives in Indonesia.
So is he? What would he advise me to do then?
Say, look up. He's got. He'll go from Noahide. He'll basically become a Noahide, but he answers all these proofs that the Christians bring. Right, he's very, very clear, very, very thorough.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Right.
I like to get to the bottom of things.
Right. So, if you look at Rabbi Singer's website, just go Google it, you'll find it. Rabbi Tovia Singer, and he's the most thorough, most clear.
Yeah, a lot of explanation for how Jesus is the Messiah or fulfills all these kind of things. Because of course we all go back to Paul,
Right.
not to Paul and a few of the others, but to explain the connection. But it's interesting. It'll be interesting to have.
Good luck. Matthew, איזה ספר אתה לומד עכשיו? This guy taught himself Hebrew, right? And he learns like real deal, complicated stuff.
And are you a Jewish now? So that didn't quite do the trick.
But do you believe in Judaism?
Yeah. Okay, so that.
He's a Noahide.
Well, you obviously take it serious.
Is it?
You learn.
He's a Noahide.
Okay.
So actually,
You're a
another,
genius
what,
as well.
what,
He's pretty. How long did it take you to finish Pesach's brachos? Listen to this.
2 weeks.
I can't believe it. I can't believe he did that. 2 weeks.
Still not me.
I believe you, but it's just incredible.
What else did you learn?
Oh, you mean this? That's my street. That's where I live. I live just where the.
Yeah.
And also yesterday I was doing a bit of mathematics here.
That's the gear.
How was your Pesach Seder? You didn't go. Oh man.
so actually another one then.
Yes.
I noticed you mentioned Zechariah before. So
Yeah.
who's actually going to be standing on the Mount of Olives?
Messiah. No, well, it's God. No, it's God. It's God. Right. At the time of the Messiah, God will stand on the Mount of Olives. It means He will appear
So
there.
you mean actually the God from the throne will come down?
He's going to manifest Himself in some way on the Mount of Olives.
Right. So it's
But
not
look
going.
up Zechariah 8:23. This is very interesting. Zechariah 8:23. I mean,
And also, you know when he says he will come and all these saints with him?
right.
Who will those saints be?
It means literally the Kadosha means the holy ones. It means the his angels.
How did you get into
All right.
Do you study this?
Say?
Is that where you study sort of the Bible?
Where? That's where I got a lot of my Christian most Jews. I'll tell you this straight out. Christians sort of like spend a lot of time wondering why Jews don't accept Jesus. Most Jews, just about know what Jesus is. They really don't spend much time on it.
They're
Right?
not bothered.
It's like he was a failed Messiah 2,000 years ago. We moved on from that. Right? It's not like the same. It's for Christians is the central point, right? Jews is like they barely know about it.
Your account, I read it.
Monday high.
So
8:23.
that's great. That's
8:23.
I read it, yeah. Chabad. Yeah, Bjorn Khan, he was like the Peter of the Rebbe. Yeah, I've seen it.
You read it?
Yeah, but he's also quite radical.
Thus says the Lord.
Yeah, have you seen it? Have you read Man Chacham?
Yeah, I've got it home.
Well, this is without the restoration
He's
part.
also
So
But at the end of days, the non-Jews are going to come to the Jews for the information because God is with them. Right?
Right.
I mean, I think every non-Jew, when he reads that, should think about that because there seems to be some sort of. Hey, when are you leaving, you say? You don't know when I'm leaving? We'll say that.
Yeah, I'll be around. Yeah.
Okay. I'm flying tomorrow. Yeah, back to Israel.
Let's catch up before you go.
Okay.
So you're saying about what did you say?
I'm just saying that God says at the end of days, the non-Jews are going to come to the Jews, and say, "Let's go with you." Yeah, meaning at the end of days, there's going to be this turnaround. Like where
Well, that is a group of Christians in Holland,
I mean, there's a big
but
mix.
probably in America and all as well, who say
There's no,
exactly that's what they.
there's no
right. And, I mean, it's
Whether there was at the time,
How's it going here?
personal opinion, but the idea is that
it's explicit in the.
the point. I think everyone would agree that
No, go ahead. Yeah, come on. Yeah.
It's explicit, and that's what's going to happen, right? And listen, I'm not telling you just take that verse and then just go blindly follow the
as a
Jews.
whole, it's not an
Yeah, but I'm saying if
have to
that's what Zechariah says,
So
that should set you thinking.
And so then people agree that
Maybe there's something the Jews have got.
Well, it's a bit.
the question of what's
There, of
called-
course,
if
there
I
are
join
some
a secular government,
Christians
make
who
it
say
more Jewish,
who would
or
really
joining
take
secular or not.
to the Jews or the Hebrews, you know. While other Christians would say actually that's all gone, you know, like the replacements.
So they believe in a replacement theology. The replacement theology is for Israel.
I haven't quite studied it, but it is a bit all
Replacement theology is on Israel, not on Jews. The word there is Jews, Yehudi. The word is Jews, not on Israel.
Okay.
Yeah, the new Israel, it may be New Israel, right, according to Christian theology, but there's no new Jews. Christians never call themselves Jews. Right, it says Yehudi in the apostle. In the verse, it means Jew. It doesn't mean Israel, Hebrew. Replacement theology is contradicted by Isaiah 45, is it?
Oh, you mean they're being replaced by the church? You mean?
Yeah.
That's sort of. I mean, I'm just throwing to hear what's
Yeah,
I'm not defending this position. I'm just hearing.
40. Okay, it's 54, 9. 9 and 10. Look at Isaiah 54, 9, 10.
The main problem is.
Oh, I have one more question.
Yeah.
The main problem is that it's just secular. So in a secular, the point of it is
9 and 10.
secular, like,
This is like the days of Noah to me.
But the point, first of all,
Yeah, okay.
they do have to buy an
That's
It could be
quite clearly not say. There's no pluralism.
Because we have Noah here.
for religious Jews.
Right.
Then there'll be a different question. The
Then-
point is, the army's not set up for religious Jews.
Jesus
There's no
refers
way
somewhere to the sign of Noah.
Right, okay.
Yes. You will get no other sign than the sign of Noah. It was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights.
Noah in the belly of the fish. That's Jonah.
Heretics don't believe in God.
Ah, Jonah. Okay, sorry. I mean Jonah.
No, but
Anyway, that's wicked mind.
no, it doesn't matter.
Do you think Jonah died in the belly of the fish, or was he alive?
No, came out. Clearly.
He came out, but it says in the prayer of Jonah that he was in Sheol,
So therefore,
In Sheol,
which is
the other
the
Hezbollah say, well, we can
people
join
where
it, and you know, in our
dead
own
people
sections.
are.
It's a bit.
What is
Super, the Jewish
it
people are not
means
allowed to.
pit. The Sheol means like a pit. Yeah, and it generally refers to the kind of place where dead people are.
So you would say
Depths.
So you can't join the.
What does that mean?
Another point, you get influence.
it could be, it could possibly mean that Jonah was dead.
They make it a religious
Or
army.
it came back
then
to
there'll be
life,
questions.
or not.
Some won't go.
No, that's not what it said. It's just saying he went down to
Sit and
death.
learn and learn. David didn't take the
I mean, living in a fish is quite clearly a supernatural experience. So where he went in that supernatural experience,
You wouldn't expect someone to stay alive in there.
right? Yeah, so it's clearly a supernatural experience, right? The whole thing. Right, he prayed in the fish, which means that he was alive. Yeah, he didn't die.
I would say because when we die, our soul is alive, like we face
Right, okay,
judgment.
so
sort of thing.
Yeah, but you can't speak though.
Your soul would be in Sheol, and your body is obviously not doing anything.
Right.
But I would be sleeping though. That's what he says.
In that sense, it would be possible that he died.
You want to say he died and he prayed as his soul. Yeah. Oh, maybe.
Something like that. But also it says something like,
Sign of Jonah. Again,
but also Job says something like that, like, surely I will see. I need to check that.
Yeah, you mentioned resurrection. Oh, yes. So next one is Isaiah 66 and 15. It says
Do you know there's like the 13 principles of faith? Which don't remember.
Annie Mermin, of course he knows it.
So if you find any of them, you're out
But I
of.
don't. My daughter basically
They do because they don't believe that everybody.
66, go on.
Yeah, so it says, "For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind,
When you say Muslim,
to render his anger with fury and his
Which
rebuke."
verse?
15.
oh, sorry, I didn't say sorry. You mean the religious?
Yeah. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many.
Right.
So this where it said the Lord will come.
Right.
You know when it talks about the Son of Man in Daniel,
Right.
do you think it's that same one who God
Son
gave the
of, Son
authority?
of Man is talking about Messiah, it's talking about God.
But do you think he'll be the same one who will be here coming with the sword and fire?
This is God. So I mean, when we're saying God's coming, it doesn't literally mean you'll see God. It means He's going to bring certain events, right? So yeah, it could be through this Son of Man. Yes.
But you're saying that he was, you think he's human,
Yes.
but do you think he would have a sword which will be able to do that sort of destruction and fire?
Right, again, this is already metaphorical. It's saying that at the end of days, when God does His final judgment, many cataclysmic events will happen. And fire and storms, it basically means very, very... it uses swords, yeah, it can mean guns, it just means warfare.
Because the only reason I mention is because when you read in Revelation, and it talks about obviously Jesus being the Son of God and have his glorified body, one of the things he had is the sword from his mouth.
Right.
So he describes like him in a position where he has the power to actually execute this particular.
Okay, I mean, again, that's the testimony of Revelations. Do you believe Revelations? Well, I don't. So.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is that it's the only thing I've found, like post the Old Testament, which gives you a good explanation of what's mentioned here.
I mean, I think it's just metaphorical. It's just metaphorically saying that when at the end of days, when God comes through these cataclysmic events, with warfare and storms and fire.
So you don't think the sword is a specific thing where there'll actually be a
sword,
a spiritual sword, basically?
Not a spirit. It means war. And it doesn't mean there's going to be literally a sword.
Yeah.
It's a bit poetic and metaphorical.
Yeah.
He doesn't like white people.
What did you say?
He's saying something about light skin. You're white skin.
Okay, doesn't like me either.
No, he's like an atheist ancestor guy. So he's
And tell me something. In Holland, Geert Wilders. Geert Wilders.
Geert Wilders.
Yeah, is he like what is he? Anti-Semitic? He's like
Anti-everything.
He's anti-everything.
I live here for a long time, so I don't really know much about Dutch politics, to be honest. But he's a populist, but he's been very outspoken against Islam.
Right. And that's his platform.
That's the biggest group of immigrants in Holland, of course. So that's where you get a lot of votes from.
One thing I say for him, he's got a cool hairstyle. Boris couldn't have done better.
It's quite something.
Boris.
He doesn't. Like guys like that, they see problems and they address the problems, but they have never a solution.
I mean, his solution is just not going to work. He has a solution. It's just not. Well, you can't. Listen, as a religious person, I know. I live in Israel. There's a lot of tension, religious, secular tension, right? And a lot of the time, the secular are trying to impose a certain solution on the religious. Right? That's the worst thing you can do. You try to impose a solution on the other side, it never works.
But in the bigger picture. Anyway, guys like that, they're just populists, and they're everywhere. There's another one now already. You know, Geert Wilders is not so popular anymore. There's another one, right? And he's anti-EU. You know, it's popular at the moment, and he's pro-climate, against climate change and stuff like that. They'll just make up as they go along.
Actually, the next one. So Isaiah 11, where it says about the.
Never get asked this one. I don't think I've ever been asked this one. Go for
no?
it.
All right.
No, new one. Not very often used.
All right. And it says, and there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. So you.
That's the Messiah. The Messiah is Davidic. Will be Davidic.
Right. Okay. So
it doesn't mean it's Jesus.
Right. So because if you go.
Besides, there's no proof that the Messiah. That Jesus was from David. After all, in Judaism we go patrilineal descent, right? And Jesus didn't have a father.
But if we go to verse 4,
say, yes, right. and the genealogy contradicts in Matthew and Luke, is it?
Yeah, I think Luke's got
Matthew and Luke. They've got contradicts, and they try and answer that it's one's Mary, one's Joseph, but they both clearly say Joseph.
Anyway, the other one is I think the numbers don't match for one of
the number generations. It's all a mess, and it contradicts the Old Testament. Some of the earlier genealogy contradicts the Old Testament.
Yeah,
it's not all a mess.
You say? Okay.
And so on verse 4 it says here, but with righteousness shall he judge the poor and reprove with equity for the meat of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. So Revelation explains that swords in his
First of all, the word there is never translated as sword. It says shevet, which means a rod. It's not sword. Second of all, sword doesn't mean is nothing literal. It just means using your mouth, verbal power. Right? And the other thing is that Jesus said that. Well, that doesn't prove he actually did it. Right.
Oh, well, it didn't say that's how he was described.
Okay,
he described him.
I can describe myself doing the same thing. I will smite the earth with the rod of my mouth. Am I the Messiah? No.
Well,
I hope not.
Well, in here it was actually a vision.
You say?
Yeah, it's a vision.
Right, I understand, but so is it reliable or not?
But I suppose what I'm kind of saying is that the New Testament has things in it which actually
reference to Old Testament, correct?
Yeah.
The New Testament was written by Jews, most of it anyway. right? And that's how Jews cross-reference all the time. Right, when I learn Talmud, it's cross-referencing the whole time. Right, you reference the whole time. So the fact that they reference things, and everything's referenced, doesn't prove that it actually happened. I can also say something and cross-reference it. I told you I can write a book that's called the New Testament and cross-reference it to Jeremiah 31, right? And I can ride on a donkey into Jerusalem, right? And then and cross-reference to Zechariah, and then I can get stabbed, right? Or I can claim that I was stabbed, or whatever. It doesn't prove anything. Right? The thing is, if you ever notice that the prophecies that Jesus supposedly fulfilled are all personal prophecies, coming from Bethlehem, virgin birth, being crucified, all these things are all personal about him. None of the big world-changing prophecies were ever fulfilled by him. They're all pushed off to the second coming. So world peace, universal knowledge of God, the rebuilding of a temple, right? Those things didn't happen. He didn't do those.
So do you think that there's another something? God's going to send something else to explain these things which are explained by the
Messiah. The Messiah will fulfill, and he'll do world peace and universal knowledge of God and everything else.
Because you say obviously the Messiah will have to come from the line of David.
Yes.
But have we not totally lost the line of David?
There are some people still do.
Because
there are not that many people that claim to be line of David though.
Because people can claim it, right. But I would think I have questions with most Jews as being literally descended from.
Oh well, seeing as the
because a lot of people have converted to Judaism.
Right, that's true. But
so
the genetics,
for example, you look as European as me.
I understand.
You come across as very Jewish.
I understand, but the genetics. Again, looking at my cousins, right? They're the same bloodline as I am. They live in Israel. They look Israeli, right? Even though they've just been there for one generation. When you live in a certain area, right, you even without genetics, you actually start to look like that thing. I saw a picture of there's a American soldier who was captured in North Korea. He got released to Japan. He's been living in Japan 30 years. I saw a photo of him. He looks Japanese. He wasn't Japanese. He just looked Japanese. When you live in a part of the world, you change even without genes, without genetics. You do.
I haven't heard that before.
So it's a fact. Right?
I haven't heard that fact before.
I just see it when I go to Israel. Yeah, the Israelis look Israeli, even though most of them.
That's where I come from, because you had these Jews from Ethiopia. They were black.
Right.
Then the Jews in Europe are all white. So that's why I think.
Right. So the genetics of the Ethiopian Jews are the most complicated because they do not. The genetics they just don't connect. But the genetics of white European Jews like me, right, look the same as the Yemenite Jews, dark-skinned, black-eyed. Yep, they very very similar. Much more close than the similarities between mine and yours. That's the fact. Go check it out.
I haven't heard that before.
Go check it out.
Where can I check that out?
Say? Wikipedia.
Okay.
It is often used by Muslims when they say that the Jews. There's a conspiracy theory, basically. The Khazars, you have the Khazars?
Well, but in the south of Spain and also in the Khazars, a lot.
They were a conversion. They were actual conversions. It is true. Judaism. Right. So there definitely is Gentile blood, genes within the Jewish population. Right? But overall, the genetics are very, very.
Therefore, I thought there is a break somewhere in the line, and then when
there are people
the Messiah comes, you don't really know if he is.
My mother comes from the tribe of Levi. Yeah. My father's mother also comes from the tribe of Levi. My cousins, who their father comes from Aaron.
Yeah, okay. But I would say, is that really so, or is that an adopted identity? But if you say it's really so,
they have done genetic testing.
I haven't really researched
on people claiming to be Kohan, which is the priest from Aaron, right? And they're very, very similar. They found they call it the Kohen gene, which is among Kohan. Kohans.
Oh, actually, another one. You know, when Moses says about the prophet in Deuteronomy 18,
yes.
Do you think that prophet's come?
The prophet there it's not specific prophets. It's talking about any prophet. Right? There's criteria for the further prophets. Meaning, the reason why we accept Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Joshua as prophets. Well, Joshua it says at the end of Deuteronomy, but the rest of the prophets. Right? The reason why we accept this criteria for prophets, basically four criteria: being Jewish, doing a sign that comes true, not contradicting the Torah, and what's the fourth one? I think it's just not speaking the name of other gods and not contradicting the Torah. I think there's the four criteria.
So even though it says where is it, Deuteronomy 18?
Question.
Cross-examining.
I need to ask you a question.
Well, it says, so this is Deuteronomy 18:15.
Yes.
It says, the Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren like unto me, unto him unto him ye shall hearken.
Right. It says the prophet in singular, but it's talking about prophets. It's not a specific prophet. The same as Deuteronomy 13.
But it says, because it says, according to all that thou desires of the Lord thy God in Horeb, in the day that of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, neither let me see the great fire any more, that I die not. So, but he almost, he repeats it again. It says, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. So I know Sarah says he, but then you did have female prophets.
Yeah, because again, the Torah is always in, unless it's specifically talking about of a man, a woman. It was always in male. Hebrew is male. It's like a male. Like the standard is not in English. You have neuter. In Hebrew, it's male unless otherwise.
So this so what you're saying here is that this, even though it says he, it means multiple prophets.
Correct. Like Deuteronomy 13. Same thing.